I'm John Arnold, and this is Doris. And before Doris and I share our personal words about Ernie, we want to briefly reflect on his ministry in the Assemblies of God. Superintendent Rich Guerra is out of the state, or he would be here with us tonight, as he was with Colleen's service. I did see Assistant Superintendent John Martin come in. John, so glad to have you here. On Rich's behalf and on behalf of Ray Rachels, his superintendent for many years, who is also here tonight, and all the Assemblies of God ministers who knew and worked with Ernie over many years, we extend greetings, sympathy, and love to the family. Ernie started as a young man in the Assemblies of God in Glad Tidings Temple in Bellevue, Kentucky, pastored by, as we used to call them, Brother and Sister Depke. They had a strong emphasis on prayer and fasting. One time they took Ernie and Bob Daniels and perhaps a couple other young men up to what was called a faith home in Moscow, Ohio, which is just up the river from Cincinnati, for a time of praying and fasting. I remember Ernie telling me about that experience. They were upstairs in this house, this faith home, and they were praying and fasting for a day or two. And then morning came, and the smell of bacon came wafting up through the grill. And Ernie told how about the distress this caused them as they were trying to fast with the smell of bacon. Ernie received his ministerial credentials with the Assemblies of God, and I saw over there he was ordained in 1953. First, as was mentioned, he evangelized and then pastored successfully in Alabama, Kansas, and then in Thousand Oaks and San Pedro, California. They ministered in our church, Wilmington First Assembly, with us for many years. He was my friend and confidant, and after staff meetings every Tuesday morning, I'd go out to lunch with Ernie and cry on his shoulder a little bit. Ernie was highly regarded. He had a wonderful ministry there, and Colleen also, respected. Over the years, he and Colleen blessed thousands of people and helped them put their faith in Jesus and strengthen their faith in him. Doris?
Ernie and Colleen were dear friends. It was a great privilege to know them well. Over the years, we had many enjoyable, fun, serious, enlightening conversations that covered all kinds of things. They both were very bright people, and as anyone who knows them soon realized, they were very bright. And as old as they were, they never stopped being interested in life and the world around them. They were very interesting people to know and love. When we went out to eat, which we often did with them, and at many places, Ernie would usually wear his World War II cap, World War II veteran cap, and oftentimes people would stop and thank him for his service, and he was always so pleased with that. He was proud of his military service, as he well should have been. As a young man, only 18 years old, when they tapped him to serve as chaplain on this enormous ship and there was nobody else, but he was spotted as someone who knew God, and they tapped him as a chaplain. So you can imagine how proud Ernie was at that time in his life. On Ernie's 99th birthday, his family had a celebration for him at their home. It was a remarkable day. When all the guests had arrived and settled in, Ernie stood up by his chair, and I can still see him, and he began to tell his life story, starting from the very beginning. And he, first of all, expressed how grateful he was to God for that he and Colleen were still together, and he expressed his deep love for her, as we all knew very well how much he loved her and vice versa. They were a great example of living life well, loving and caring for each other until the very end. He was quite frail at the time at his birthday party, but he continued to stand. I kept being concerned about him, but he just kept standing there talking, and it was wonderful. Finally, he was quite frail and had to sit down, but he continued, and it was amazing to hear him share his story and his expressions of faith in God's leading and guiding throughout his life. He was very confident in that, how God had led him through these 99 years. Ernie and Colleen knew they wouldn't live forever, but as long as they lived, they always prayed that they would be together until the end. Once Colleen passed on, Ernie seemed to long to be at home in heaven with her. The last time we picked him up to go to lunch together, he was dressed all dapper, a sport coat and tie, and a big smile on his face, and he came out to the car, and the first thing he said when he got in the car, he told us of a book he had just read where the author had had an experience of dying and going to heaven and seeing loved ones who had gone before waiting for him. And Ernie expressed how he knew Colleen would be waiting for him. He was looking forward to that day, not with fear, but with expectancy and anticipation of the joy that would bring. There was such a sense of peace, calm, and assurance about his demeanor that day. We had such a lovely time together with him there at BJ's restaurant, and then took him back home. Several days later, Ernie called us to tell us he was in the hospital with pneumonia. He was there for several days, but after he was home, he called and invited us to come over to his house for a visit and to play Rummy Cube. So we did. He was quite weak physically after the hospital, but he said he was up to a game, and it ended up being 3 games. His mind was sharp, and we ended up playing 3 games, and he won 2 of 3. 2 weeks later, Ernie passed on to his eternal home. We loved Ernie and Colleen, and their passing has left a void in our lives. We often think of them, miss them, and are so thankful for the many years of friendship we shared with them. And Shailene and Brent, our deepest sympathies to you. We look forward to the day we will all be united.
As Doris has said, she and I were blessed to have had a long and loving friendship with Ernie and Colleen. We miss them dearly. They are very much alive in our minds. We can still see them and hear their voices. I was thinking about some of Ernie's likes and loves. Some of Ernie's likes. He liked board games, as Doris said. He was playing and winning to the end. When Colleen thought he was taking too much time on his turn, she would start tapping her fingers and say, "Ernest, we don't have all day." And he would reply, "Now, dear, hold your horses. I've got something good going here." And often he did. Another thing Ernie liked was the mile-high mud pies at Fisherman's Restaurant in San Clemente, especially when it was free on his birthday. He also liked the barbecue pork ribs at BJ's on Thursday when they were on discount. He liked reading murder mysteries. Now, it's gotten quiet, hasn't it? You thought he spent all his time reading the Bible, didn't you? No, he picked up many murder mysteries books from the library. We had to take him there a couple times to get his books. So the Bible first, but right behind it, murder mysteries.